Hi everybody, my name's Ian and welcome to From Beginner to Band, and I'm doing a short video series on how to get started on the guitar. And in this lesson we'll be looking at the different parts of the guitar. So if you're wondering what these bits are or what these bits are or what these bits are, we are going to cover those in this lesson. Now if you haven't already, please comment, like and subscribe and ring the bell for notifications of new videos coming out. And if you click the link below, it will take you through to From Beginner to Band homepage where you can subscribe to my mailing list. So the first part of the guitar we're going to look at, the main bit, are the strings. So on the guitar we count from the floor. So we say this one's number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 and 6. And the strings are called E, B, G, D, A and E. Now I've got a little rhyme that I've made up, and it goes from the 6th string to the 1st string, and it says eating and drinking gives body energy. Just a way of remembering the strings. Now if you're changing your strings, we talk about the strings in a guitar gauge or a string gauge, which means the thickness of the string. Now on the acoustic guitar, commonly your acoustic guitar will come with what are called gauge 12 strings, and what that means is that the first string is a 12, okay, or a 1/12 of an inch. So, and then it goes thicker obviously from there right down to normally like a 52 thickness 6th string. Sometimes you might want to change the gauge of the string and go to a thinner gauge, and we'll talk about that later on, how to change the strings and the different gauges involved. But for now we've just learned the names of the strings and which number they are. Now the strings are mostly over the neck. So this part of the guitar is called the neck, the back is called the neck, and the front part is called the fingerboard. So if you look down on your guitar, you'll see normally you have a strip, and that's another piece of wood that's been fitted onto the front of the neck, and that becomes the fingerboard where you put your fingers. And the fingerboard can be a different wood than the neck, okay? Often you get what's called a rosewood fingerboard. That's quite common. And then on the neck, or on the fingerboard rather, we have these metal strips, and they are called the frets or the fret wire. And you can actually change the fret wire. These come out. Don't try it yourself. Get a guitar luthier to help you with that. And what happens is when you push down on the string, this pushes into the fret wire. Now over many years, this digs into the fret wire and can cause a groove and can cause unevenness. And over time, you can get a buzz on your guitar. And so after a few years, you might want to change the fret wire. So that's just another little bit of information there. If you just bought your guitar, you won't need to change the fret wire for like 10 years or something like that. So when we put our fingers on the guitar, we put them in the spaces, but we call that the frets. So space 1 will be fret 1, space 2 will be fret 2, space 3 will be fret 3, fret 4, fret 5, fret 6, fret 7, fret 8, etc. When you place the finger on the string, you want to place it just behind the fret wire. So that is the back of the fret, I call that. That's the center of the fret, and that's the front of the fret. Put your finger on the front of the fret and you'll get the best sound. The back of the fret, it can sound a bit buzzy. In the middle of the fret is pretty good, but the front of the fret, just behind the fret wire, so you should be able to see a little bit of the fingerboard between your finger and the fret wire, and that's the best place to put your finger. So on the fretboard, we've got the fret dots or fret markers, and all these are just reference points. So if I wanted to go to fret 5 quickly, I'll go to fret 5 or fret 7 quickly. Traditionally on a classical guitar there was no fret markers, so you just had to visually know where to go. So that was more difficult, and on more modern classical guitars now they'll have a little dot on the side here. So you might not have a fret marker on the front, but you'll have one on the side, and on my classical guitar I've got one on the side here just to help me. Now then, one little bit of disclaimer. I played the guitar probably for about 15 years, and I thought to myself, these fret markers are a bit random, aren't they? They sort of go 3, 5, 7, 9, and then you've got a jump of 3 frets. Why doesn't it go 9, 11? And I couldn't really understand the pattern of the fret markers. And then one day I thought, oh my God, I've just realized it's basically a symmetrical or mirror image. So from 0 to 3 is 3 frets, and from 9 to 12 is 3 frets, and in between they're sectioned off in 2 fret gaps. So you could say the 6th fret here is like the mirror image of this higher part of the guitar, fret 6 to 12, and you've got fret 0 to 6. Okay, so I hope you can understand that. So 0 to 3 and 9 to 12. So it's just a mirror image of itself. And that's obviously whoever thought of that, knew what they were doing. And it took me 15 years to figure that out. So I'm a slow learner. I'm sure you're quicker than me. So I've covered the neck, the fingerboard, the string names and the string numbers, and the fret markers. Now let's look at the body. So on the body of the guitar, you've got what's called the top of the guitar, the back of the guitar, and the sides of the guitar. And these can all be different types of wood. So if you bought a cheaper guitar, which is totally fine, you can obviously start off on whatever your budget is. But on a cheaper guitar, the top of the guitar here, the wood, is what's called laminated. So that means it's layers of wood glued together. Okay, and that can sound really good, and over a few years that can improve in sound. But even better than that, you might get a guitar that's got a solid top. So this is a solid piece of wood, and over time this is going to improve the sound even more than a laminated top. Okay, so if you can, go for a solid top guitar. How do we know it's solid top? Well, when you look at the grain from the guitar going into the sound hole, the grain continues, and you can see the grain on the edge of the sound hole here. You're looking inside. On a laminated guitar, when the grain goes into the sound hole, it stops, and you'll see the sort of the cutting of the wood, and there'll be no grain there. So that's how you can tell if it's a solid top or a laminated top. Now, the most distinctive feature of the guitar, or one of the most distinctive features of the guitar, is the sound hole. So people think the sound comes out of here, and it does. Out of the sound hole you get most of the bass frequencies, but when the strings vibrate and it hits against the wood, you're actually getting sound coming from all parts of the guitar. So the sound will actually come out of this part of the guitar, which would be a more treble sound, and obviously the strings on the neck will make a sound here as well. So the combined total of the strings vibrating on the neck and the body create the full sound. If you just heard the sound hole, you probably think, oh, that sounds really bassy and a bit muffled. You need the treble and the high frequencies generated by the neck and the other parts of the guitar, the top of the guitar, to make the full sound. So it's not just the sound hole where the sound comes out of. Now, another feature of the guitar, you might have a plastic plate here. Mine doesn't have a plastic plate here, and that's called the pick guard. And when you're strumming, you might knock the wood, and so somebody years ago thought, I know, we'll put a plastic strip here and that's going to protect the wood, and that's called a pick guard, and that's all that is. Now, a very important part of the guitar is this part, and this is called the bridge. And as you know, as you can see, that's where the strings sit at the back. And this little white strip here is called the saddle, and the strings sit on the saddle. Holding the strings in place are called the string pins or string pegs, and they hold the string in. Now, when you're changing your strings, this is a fantastic gadget by Planet Waves, and I'm not paid to say this, but I just use one of these because I think they're really good. On this part of the gadget, you've got a string peg puller outer, and what you do is you put it over the peg like that. You can see that, and then you pull up like that and make sure that it's holding onto the peg, and then you can just pull it out. It's also got a string winder, and then it's got a string cutter at the end, so you can cut off your strings if you don't want them sort of hanging off at the end. So that's a really great gadget. I recommend one of those. Now, at the other end of the guitar, we've got what's called the headstock, and different makes of guitars, you know, have different designs of headstock. I guess you could call this like a Les Paul style headstock. And then the other style, would be called a Fender Strat style or a Fender Telecaster style, where the tuning pegs are all on the top. So we've got the headstock, we've got the tuning pegs, and we've got what are called the string posts. And you put the string through the hole and wind it round to change your strings. Now, a common mistake, if you're just starting out and you're changing your strings, sometimes you'll put the string going round the post the other way. So the string will come on the outside of the post. So you'll see here, you can see all my strings on the inside of the post. Okay, sometimes you might put the string coming on the outside of the post. It doesn't make a difference to the tuning of the guitar. It just means that some pegs you'll have to go this way to tune it, and the other peg you go the other way, so it's just a bit confusing. Also, it looks better and more sort of traditional with the strings going on the inside of the pegs. So as much as you can, just try and remember to put them inside when you replace the pegs. The next bit you might find on the acoustic guitar, you've got a pickup. Okay, now I can put a jack lead into here and I can take that to an amplifier or PA system. So when I'm playing live, that's really useful because even though the guitar sounds quite loud in your lounge or your kitchen, if you go and play in a bar, it's so noisy that only the guitar will be heard a few feet away. So you do need, if you're playing live, to go through a PA system. So I'll put the lead in here, and then from these controls, I can control the volume and the treble and the bass. When I'm playing live, I tend to just leave these all flat, just control the volume. I'll just let the sound engineer sort of tweak the sound for me. I don't really bother altering those. Now the pickup that picks up the vibration of the strings is actually seated underneath the bridge here, and it's called a piezo pickup system. Okay, and it's just like a wire strip that picks up the vibrations, that turns that into an electrical signal that's sent then through the electrics down to my lead, and that's how that works, roughly. I don't really know anything about electronics, so that's what Wiki said. So please keep watching for the next tutorials in the series on how to get started on the guitar. Remember to please comment, like and subscribe below. Let me know what you're struggling with, what you'd like to learn next. Please click on the link below to go through to From Beginner to Band, where you can subscribe to my emailing list for upcoming videos. Thanks for now, and see you in the next one.